Welcome to Be in Tune. Join me, your host Darian, and my producer Joab, as we have conversations that deepen our connection with our higher power, ourselves, and the world around us. So, get ready to tune in, turn up that volume, and welcome to the Be in Tune podcast. Just want to put that little PSA in there, right? Public service announcement: you can accept things that you do not like. Acceptance does not equal approval. Ooh. Joab, what's up with you with these sounds, bro? I love it.
Nah, I mean, listen, you're dropping a great point. Like, so, well, there was more you want to say, because I wanted to go back to something you said earlier.
Go ahead and interrupt. That's totally fine.
So, well, first of all, appreciate you even sending the first of all, very small commercial break. Darian, I mean, she'll always like structure like on our notes section, like the episode outline, but usually she'll send like what's the topic, title, or theme, and then like 2 or 3 bullet points. But today, or I know, and actually you sent it like a few days in advance, so I had like time to like really digest it. I'm like, dang, it was like a whole paragraph. I had to scroll on my phone to read it all. But I digress. But looking over the topic and like just doing like getting background knowledge of the practice. Like, I remember that name, Michael Leinen. Did I get that right? The person's name you just said? Or Leinen?
Marshall Linehan?
Marshall. Well, close enough. I'm so
I
sorry.
was like, at first I was like Michelangelo. I literally went back to Italy. I literally went back. I was like, Michelangelo?
I'm crying. No, you said Marshall Linehan?
Marshall Linehan, yeah.
Marshall Linehan, yep. Yeah, and like I remember also seeing like part of like this type of like psychology was developed for people who like really suffer with like, stress disorders or anxiety. That definitely came up a lot. But the other thing that also came up, which I guess would be the opposite of dialectical thinking, was dichotomous, yes. Dichotomous thinking, yeah. Like, I guess, well, first of all, do you mind explaining like what dichotomous thinking is? I think I know what it is, but I don't want to undersimplify it.
You're bringing in something. I'm like, I didn't even think about this one. Wait.
Am I?
No, it's okay. Actually, can you, if you don't mind me asking this, and actually, I have no problem doing this either, and I don't care if I do this on the podcast. I'm like, I'm gonna look it up, just make sure that I'm correct. But what did you notice? Like, what is the thing that caught your attention about dichotomous thinking?
So, like, I guess the word. So I'll read the phrase. So it says black and white thinking, aka dichotomous thinking, splitting, is a type of cognitive distortion in which one sees things as all good or all bad.
Yes.
With no shades.
Yes.
I guess the word that, or the 2 words that threw me off for a loop is the cognitive distortion.
Yes.
And I guess the word distortion specifically, because is it more of like a thing where it's like we're not really seeing the full picture if we're engaging in dichotomous thinking versus dialectical thinking?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I actually knew dichotomous thinking more as black and white thinking, or black or white thinking. And it does fall under cognitive distortion. So that's why, like, I heard of the word, but it wasn't clicking that it was that. So I'm going to be honest about that. It's okay. It happens. So the cognitive distortions, first of all, that comes out of cognitive behavioral therapy. That's CBT, which actually the 2 therapies, they're related.
Like siblings or cousins?
I would say that they are siblings, actually, just present very differently. You know, like how you have like those siblings that were raised with the same parents, raised on the same roof, and you're like, how's one a painter and the other one is like, an accountant? Well, like, what happened here? You know what I mean?
Fair. Yeah.
That's exactly that. But one came out of the other. So actually, you can say it's more like a parent-child relationship, but I like to view it more as siblings, in my personal opinion. Because when DBT was created, it was originally called CBT for something else. It was like it had like a whole different name. But black and white thinking, sometimes it's written as black or white thinker, and sometimes it's written as black and white thinking. And even though I'm like dialectical thinking is about the black and the white, right? Uh, the thing about cognitive distortions is cognitive distortions are twisted thinking, right? So it's like they are the thoughts that we can have that is just they're maladaptive thoughts, pretty much, right? And there's several ways that we can have those maladaptive thoughts. One, catastrophizing, right? Like someone passes you the butter and you're like, this relationship, like they hate me, right? We just jump. We can jump to a conclusion. That's a form of a cognitive distortion. Catastrophizing, making a situation bigger, right, than what may be. And black and white thinking, which I love this. It's like when I looked it up, it's like either completely good or bad, right or wrong, with no room for a middle ground or gradual variations. So another form of this thinking is another name for it is all or nothing.
I have heard of that. Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes, yep.
all or nothing. So it uses black and white thinking because it's just saying it's either black here or it's white over here. It's not in this context, in this dichotomous thing, it's not trying to incorporate the both of them, both thinking. It's not trying to bring that harmonious like middle ground. Dialectical
Mm,
thinking is about getting to that middle ground. It is about um, acknowledging the aspects of each side in that middle ground, hence that wise mind space. Because it's in that wise mind space where um, the therapy, if you have like the client or the patient that's doing it, that's when they realize all the other skills that they learn based off that's found in this therapy, which is you learn skills from four areas: emotion regulation skills, distress tolerance skills, interpersonal effectiveness, which is about relationship skills, and mindfulness, which is like being still and being aware. I know mindfulness is like a trendy therapy word, right? But it's literally about learning how to be present, still, and observe a moment or a time or yourself in a non judgmental manner, because that
mm,
really leans into the acceptance side of things. When we're doing dichotomous thinking, we're not doing any of that. We're trying to choose it's either this or that or this. It's also known as black and white thinking. So
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the definition of not finding the middle ground, that is where it's significantly different from dialectical thinking. Dialectical thinking pushes the middle ground. Dichotomous thinking doesn't. It leans in because it doesn't. Therefore, we're leaning more into that twisted thinking. Those are maladaptive thoughts. And now we're just going down the riverband. We're just spiraling down, which CBT has a famous model, which is a triangle, which is the belief is that our thoughts are at top, our feelings, and then our behaviors. That the idea is that our thoughts influence our feelings and our behaviors, or our feelings influence our thoughts and our behaviors, or it should sometimes be a circle, but it's a triangle because it's pinging back and forth. One of
Mm,
those areas of our life influences how we behave, how we present. So if our thoughts are maladaptive, we're engaging in that twisted thinking, then of course we're going to still fuel those unfortunate twisted feelings, right? Those unpleasant feelings as I like to call them, and we will continue to engage in those maladaptive behaviors. But DBT got created because as a sibling, right? It expands on that. It's like, okay, so let's just acknowledge that we could just have some maladaptive thoughts, right? And what's the other side of it? I don't know if you remember this scene in Inside Out 2. There was this, I love this scene so much. It's when anxiety and joy are going back and forth. I think joy and all the other emotions are trying to sneak into it, like anxiety's like, you know, uh, pretty much
like the
like
tornado.
area, right? And trying to, huh?
Was it the scene with like the tornado with anxiety or?
No, no, it's before. It's before because that's when it's like it's really bad. That's where we see Riley have like the panic attack, which by the way, that
Mm-hmm.
movie did a fantastic job
Great job. Yep.
in illustrating what is a panic attack and how Riley came down from it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, first of all, go back to our episode of Inside Out when we talked about this, but also just watch the movie Inside Out 2. I was like,
So
yes,
good.
So good. And you know they consulted with some mental health professionals on that thing
Oh,
because
for sure.
I was like 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. But it's before that. It's when joy and anxiety are taught, like anxiety discovers that joy's trying to infiltrate, right? And it's like they're going back and forth. And anxiety's like, Riley needs to do this because if she doesn't do this, this may happen, and this may happen, and this may happen. And but before she can get goes down her list, Joy always interrupts and she goes, or she always brings in the other side. Or actually,
Mm-hmm.
Riley may be able to do this. Or she may actually thrive in this. Or she actually could have some friends, like bringing in that other side. That is what we do when we engage in dialectical thinking. I say this all the time. If you are giving space and room to just ruminate on the negative and you want to engage in dialectical thinking, then start by giving space and room for the positives. CBT is all about replacing those maladaptive thoughts with the more adaptive and realistic thoughts, right? And to influence again the feelings and the behaviors, or vice versa, right? With DBT, in which I'm not, I clearly am more versed in DBT than I am in CBT, right? But that's just my preference, right? But do whatever works for y'all. Like seriously, do whatever works for y'all, right? Take what you need, leave the rest. That's my attitude, right? With DBT, it's like we are bringing in those two thoughts and we're going to decide in a skill that is going to bring us to the other side, to bring us to our goal. So if your goal is to regulate your emotion, it may be that you're going to do the opposite action of that behavior that's going to actually make things worse. You're actually going to do the opposite. It may be that you actually have to set a boundary with this person. It may be that you have to learn to say no to certain things and actually put your self-care first, which that's not a bad thing. That's not being selfish.
Mm.
You know what's good selfishness? It's called self-care. And self-care isn't about a bubble bath or eating your favorite gelato. Okay. It's more than that. It's about catering to yourself, right? Making sure that you're good. You could have good financial self-care, mental self-care, emotional, physical, whatever it may
Mm-hmm.
be. And here's the thing, if you actually engage in that, you'll actually be better for people around you. Like you'll have more to give.
Yeah.
That's a little tangent. I was going on a little tangent there.
A lovely tangent at that. A lovely tangent. You know, I'm thinking of the person that's hearing all this, and like, I know, like, for some people it's like, yeah, like I resonate with it and I get it, and I know for some people, like, being able to say like, yeah, like I think in theory it sounds nice, but like, I guess the word that comes to mind is some people might see dialectical thinking almost like as a means of like, it's like a cop out of like a, it's like a temp, like a band-aid. It's like, oh well, look, if you can't come to a decision, then that's just a cop out to see, like, it could be both.
Mm-hmm.
like do you think like that's almost doing damage to, because I mean it serves a purpose, but do you feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's, I guess like to those kind of people, in what ways could it like, well, not be a cop out, but like be actually advantageous? And you mentioned some of them, but like in terms of like it being a cop out.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I actually meant to create like a list of like practical steps and ways to do this, but let's see if I can, because I needed the
Oh,
reminder. It's a lot in my head there. And also, I have a feeling we're going to talk about this again. Um,
for sure.
as as for it being a cop out, I can see that and I can understand it. It's like what I hear all the time when um, I tell someone you should be gracious to yourself, or recognize that you made a mistake, and they're like, "That's a cop out. Like I shouldn't have done it." I was like, "Okay,"
Mm,
and then, like, depending on how insistent people get, I'm like, "Then I know what you need to do." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "You need to go home, build the time machine, get in it, and then go back." And it's like something they get like it's like a really, and it's like yes, because listen, the whole shoulda, woulda, coulda thing. You're trying to like literally build the time machine and go back. Guess what? That's impossible to do.
man.
And you don't believe me? Ask Chat, since we be using Chat GPT for everything.
Not chat.
I'm just saying, Chat's gonna be like, "Why are you bringing me into this conversation?"
I'm done.
um, I I stand on this, that us being compassionate towards ourselves is actually helps us to do better in the future.
Mm,
And I've heard like, I was being nice to myself really helped me. Like I do better when I'm actually hard on myself. Do you? Then how's that going? It's going pretty okay. Is it? Then why are we having this conversation?
mm, that's real.
Because guess what? Things are never going to be all good all the time. You're gonna face life issues. Life is always forever throwing curveballs. Like, and like as we say in the Christian community, the devil never sleeps. Like you don't stop. Like seriously, the
Mm-hmm.
homie is petty. It does not stop. Right.
Right.
So when you actually engage in this type of thinking, and what are some practical steps that I can start doing? Well, let me give you some, maybe some form reminders that I come from DBT, that it says this. Now also, like I said, take this or not. This is just a conversation that I thought like, wow, this type of therapy actually speaks to what I feel like we kind of need in our society. Like, everyone calm down. Let's look at the other sides of things. Let's hold the space for this. Let's also remember that we're human too. But I mean, these are all beautiful words that I can say, and I understand that there's a lot of hurt that's there, and
Mm,
and also there's a lot of nonsense that's being spewed to contribute to us being divided. Two things can be true. You saw what I just did there? Dialectical thinking,
yeah, I love
right?
that.
So there's some reminders that comes in this therapy that I think is important, right? Which is one, that opposites can coexist, right? And that they were always um, influencing each other. That's the second thing. That our actions does influence other people's actions and vice versa, right? And that certain situations, like, there's been times that tragedy has struck and we're like, how the hell did this happen? Where did this come from? We're always looking for the answer. Sometimes we're going to know the answer for it, and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're not going to see. It's not a movie that we're watching all the time where you can see how things happen and you're like, oh, this is the conclusion of it. Actually, a movie that I do love that breaks that point down, right? That we're all connected. That's the second reminder, right? That there's a connection in everything, even if we see it or don't. Which is that um, the Curious Case of Benjamin Button with Brad Pitt. And if you don't know the movie, Brad Pitt is born an old man and he goes backwards physically, but mentally, you know, he is he's growing in the right direction, right? He starts off as a baby and then he mentally, gets us into adulthood. Um, so he talked about how the love of his life, Daisy, when she gets hit by a taxi, and which ruins her ballet career. And I love this scene so much because he talks about time, because that's what the movie's centered on. But if I think about it, I'm like, this actually is talking about the connection of everything. That a lot of things, we're all connected. Things are connected, whether we see it or not. He actually talks about how that morning the taxi driver woke up 5 minutes late, which and then when he got out the door, Mrs. Cirillo's grandson, I don't know, I'm just saying, threw a ball down the stairs, which hit him in the knee, which delayed him a good 10 seconds because he was hurting. And then that means he got into the bus. That means he got late. He was late for his coffee and etc. And then at this time hit Daisy. But then they do this whole playback. It was like, but what happens if he actually woke up on time? He would have missed Mrs. Cirillo's godson's ball by a good 10 seconds. He would have been on time to pick, and then therefore at this time he would have safely missed Daisy as she was spinning in the middle of the street. Now, granted, some of you may
Mm,
be watching the movie like, that's her fault. She was spinning in the middle of the street and didn't like she wasn't paying attention. There's no need for you to break down this whole connection thing, Darian. Well, but it brings up a really good point that yes, sure, one side of it, she's spinning in the middle of the street and not paying attention. But another point of it is too is that certain things happen in this taxi driver's day that delayed him. And actually, I think he even spilled the coffee on her that he didn't see her. Two things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second reminder. So the one is that opposites do exist, right? The second is, and I'm summarizing it, I'm not putting it in the actual like textbook language. Two is that we're all connected. Three, that change is the only constant, which is like on a Christian perspective. I'm like, oh, God is the only constant. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that doesn't take away from that. So those of you who are my faithful listeners, please don't think she's like, she's leaning slowly on this. No, just calmate, slow down, relax,
I
right?
love that. Cálmate.
Calmate. It's okay. Está bien. It's all good. It's all good, right? Um, but that change is the only constant. Like, it's so true. Time is always going, whether we want it to or not. How many times have we experienced some hardships in life and we're like, I want time to stop? Or how many times have
Mm,
you experienced like that really awesome thing in life? You're like, I want time to stop. Doesn't matter which side or which perspective you're asking for time to stop, time is not going to stop. Time is always going.
yeah.
What's so crazy is it's like we're literally sitting here, Joab, you and I in our respective states and spaces, and all seems fine. But the earth is still spinning. Time is
Mm-hmm.
still going. Oh, and actually, speaking of connections, going back to that point, I think it was one time you and I were doing a podcast episode and there was an earthquake that happened. And I think it was like, it was felt somewhere that New Yorkers felt it. And I felt a little bit of it over here.
I'm really, yep.
Yeah. So now I'm just saying. That's weird, but that's a connection piece, right? We're all connected. But, anyways, going back to the change is the only constant. Like, change is always happening. Someone once said death is the only constant. I was like, that's a change. You know,
Nice.
it's not a fun change, unfortunately. You know, it's a change, right? So there's that. So things are changing, which also gives room to this. This is why we can engage in this dialectical thinking because it's like I think something now, 6 months from now, I can change my mind because
Mm-hmm.
change is a constant. Like change is the only constant. Like it's okay. We can grow. We can look at things from different perspectives, right? I can give myself compassion and still take the responsibility I have to take for the mistakes that I made and be the better version of myself. I can experience anxiety, right? And challenge myself to challenge it, to face my fears, and I can survive it. I can actually it would be exhausting, but I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I actually survived that. It didn't eat me up like it projects that it would." And what? I'm actually having more solid relationships because of it. You can feel immense sadness and lack of motivation to do anything. And there's reasons for that. And we're not going to go into that. You can. And it's okay. We accept it. It's all right. And you can try to get out of bed and do that one thing for yourself, or at least do that one thing for that other person. And you can try it again. It'll feel heavy. It'll feel like the weight of the world is on you, right? And you can still survive and still put one foot forward. But it's all right too if you're in the space of like, I'm accepting that this is where I'm at. I can accept
Mm,
this. The thing about dialectical thinking, and I'm gonna get to the fourth point too, eventually soon, is it's again the basis of this therapy, the dialect is acceptance and change. So here's the thing, if you're like, this is a cop out, well, it would only be a cop out if you're only staying on the acceptance side of things. It's also encouraging you to change. It's encouraging you to move. It's encouraging
yeah.
you to do something different. It's also encouraging you to not call yourself all the terrible names that you call yourself, to not speak badly of yourself, to not state that your actions are dumb and stupid. For my faith believing friends, God never talks about you that way. Why are you doing that?
Very true. Very true.
If you believe in a higher power, if you have a belief that is good, if you have that belief in goodness, which I just believe in God and then I believe God is all good, he never talks about you that way. Why are you doing that? That's a
And,
topic for a different day because I found myself
right.
getting passionate, Joel.
I,
So
no, listen, and I'm right behind you with that passage because I was about to do a follow up. Like, and if that's not you saying that to yourself, then whose voice is that?
facts, facts.
Whose voice is that? Yeah.
So look at that. Just the concept of dialectical thinking now is getting you to be like, wait, hold up. Good question. Whose voice is that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a parent's voice that I heard growing up because they were abusive? Is it, a terrible situation with an ex and all that? Whatever it may be. First of all, my heart goes out to you for having that voice. And I encourage you to start putting a different voice in your head. Put in the voice that actually sees you for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's
Yeah. If
it's easier said than done, of course. It takes time, it takes practice. It's okay. So,
yeah. Nah, honestly, like everything you're saying, I'm just like, dang, because this is like in real time for me. It's like I'm low key like dealing with that thought process too. Not like of um like the black or white thinking, but more so like the like being hard on yourself. Like I definitely know like I could definitely be my own critic. Because I always want to like try to do things to the best of my ability and get things right. But at the same time, and I think I was talking to you about this earlier before, where like there is like times where it's like I could accept what was the person that I was before, maybe like the skills I didn't have at the moment, and like the person I am now, the skills that I have now, but still look back and still kind of be like reminded of that and kind of like think that okay, like that person back then is still like the me of today. And I think it's difficult to kind of disassociate the me now to like the me back then because it's like that still was me. So I can kind of resonate with the person that's like saying like, oh, like I can't really get results unless I'm like hard on myself. Because like if I'm hard on myself, then I can push myself to be better. And like although like yeah, like I can push myself to be better and like be hard on myself, but like to your point, like how much better off will you really be in the end? Um, at least mentally, right? And I thought of this principle that I heard. I forget if it's called the penthouse principle or the penthouse theory or whatever it was called, but there's this like theory where it's like if you're not accepting and happy about being in the first floor apartment, then you won't be accepting and happy once you make it in the penthouse. And it's like, although your situations where you currently are isn't like where you want to be, having that acceptance of where you are carries with you like once you get to that level where you are, so you can really like fully receive like the benefits of that. And I carry that principle with me because it's like even if I'm in that space where it's like I'm not fully there, I don't fully have it all together or figured out, I'm still grateful for the fact that I at least have the awareness or at least even just the mindset of like okay, like I know where I'm not want to be, but I still want to like acknowledge where I am now while I still achieve greater. And I
yeah.
think that kind of goes back to that acceptance and change that you were talking about. Because that carries through like whatever level you go to next, whatever
Yeah.
level.
Absolutely. First of all, Joe, thank you for sharing all of that. You hit the nail on the head there. Absolutely. And with being hard on yourself, I want to touch on this because it actually goes into my fourth point. You said it because I know you were like it's like what you said, Darian. It's like how is that helping you in the long run? How is that helping you with your relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Because the fourth point here that dialectical thinking reminds us of is that uh, change is transactional, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't think it's stated exactly that way, actually. I could be wrong. Dang it, I wish I had my workbook right in front of me. But at the end of the day, there's this transaction that's happening here too, right? That what you do does influence. It goes back to that second point. It's like we're all connected, right? But that's coming from the space of like sometimes we'll just know the causes for things and sometimes we won't know the causes for things, right? We also have to remember too that what we do also does influence. There's a transaction that's happening and we influence each other.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, but I thought we're not supposed to care about what would people think. Yeah, for sure, as you're trying to walk into your own space, but we're not, you're not on this earth by yourself. So can, I mean, this is just my point of view. Can we have some consideration here? Can we recognize that there is an influence that happens? Think about it. Someone doesn't hold the door for you, you're taken aback. If you're like me, you're like, how rude. How rude. Who you were you raised by, right? But
Hmm.
if like someone's just rude to you, like the barista gets your thing wrong, your order wrong, and he gives you attitude, right? Someone cuts you off while you're driving, and you're trying to drive by the speed limit, and they're somehow they want to be an evil Knievel. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, I've been the evil Knievel part, right? But let's also think about like how we've also have been influenced by our own people, our family members, our friends' like actions a lot. And so when it talks about like changes transactional, at least an aspect of that, if that's not the exact title of it, it's saying that the things that we do, the changes that we do make, can be influential to others. When you start learning how to set boundaries for yourself, guess what? You're teaching others around you how to come to you. Now they'll start knowing what they cannot no longer ask you for or no longer push you to do. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
when you start regulating your emotions and when you start increasing your self-esteem, so that's how you view yourself, right? And someone is coming with a certain attitude and all that, you can actually put a limit to that. Now they know that they can't enter that sphere. Now they know that they can't really get you in that way. But also, you could influence someone else to think better of themselves, to set boundaries for themselves.
Hmm.
At least that's the aspect of that fourth point that I do remember, right? I mean, I'm sure I'll come back and correct if I have to. I don't have a problem doing that either. Um, but those are just some reminders. So to answer the long-winded answer for that cop out question, because that's where it started,
I
right?
forgot. Yeah.
It's that, is it really a cop out with you trying to do some acceptance and change and be a better version of yourself? And if you're like, yes, then I'm like, then it can continue going as it going, but just tell me how you're feeling 6 months later.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of an arrogant statement to say it that way, but it's just like, is it really? Because it's pushing you to make the necessary changes in your life. It pushes
Yeah.
you to accept, to acknowledge what is, whether you like it or not. It encourages you, not pushes you, it encourages, that's the better word. It encourages you to accept that needs to be accepted, and it encourages you to change that needs to be changed. How you're responding to certain situations, responding to certain emotions, responding to certain people's comments, responding to the news, right? Let's try this whole both and mindset. Let's try holding the space of like, let me see if I can hold space to look at this from a different perspective. And you may be able to do it for 10 seconds and be like, nope, I can't. Then that may not be it for you right now. But do it for the little things. Like the barista that is rude. It's like, I'm gonna hold space. I'm gonna tell you that first of all, you're rude. And there was no need for that. And at the same time, I'm gonna hold space. You can even say I'm gonna hold space that there may be something else going on with you.
Hmm.
Thank you for my cold foam. Goodbye. Right? I don't know. Like that's just a silly example. If you can say it and present it in a really awesome way, do, right? If you're gonna get into a fight and an argument with someone, then don't. Don't
Yeah.
bother. Because you don't want it to continue to ruin your day. But we we have this quote that is hurt people hurt people. We are already holding the space of perspective that this person hurt me, right? And they crossed the line and they did something terrible. And they have been hurt themselves because of what they did for me. That tells me that something else also happened in their lives. It's like bullies. A bully is usually being bullied.
Yep. Yeah.
We already have this mindset. Sorry, Joe. You have to fix that later. We already
What?
have this
I'm not
kind of
getting it. You didn't hit me.
I know, but when you go back to edit, you're gonna be like, "Dang it, Darian." But we already kind of have somewhat of this dialectical thinking because we're already willing to look at the perspective or gain the understanding of certain things. Like a bully is being bullied, hurt people hurt people. Well, guess what? Also, here's another dialect that I saw. Hurt people can also help people because they don't have to
That is
continue to
true.
perpetuate the same thing that was done to them onto another person. Hence the whole influential transactional piece thing.
Yeah. Dang. Change is not easy. It definitely is not
Mm,
easy, but it is worth it. You know, and I mean, it's kind of weird that you even brought this up. I was watching this YouTube video of there's like this show where people try to like there's like this one bully, at least this show. There was this one bully and there was like 3 or 5 random people. One of them was the bullies, well, the person that they used to bully, and the other 4 were just like random actors, and we kind of just had to figure out who was the bully and who was the person who actually got bullied out of the group. But what I took away from that, which was actually kind of like heartwarming, and it was supposed to be like a funny comedy like show, but like what was actually heartwarming was that like the bully ended up becoming best friends with the person that they bullied. Because and he actually spoke about it in the show. The bully actually went through a lot of hardship in his own upbringing, with his family, acceptance, and like that poured out to like how he would then bully like people around him in school. And
mhm,
like he like it just shows that he just like definitely took accountability, but also like made amends with the people he did bully and ended up becoming friends with a few of them. So I
mhm,
think to your point of like hurt people can help people, yeah, like, and I think if not the biggest thing, hurt people can help people even if it's especially themselves. Like I feel like you could help yourself from the hurt that you experience by being kind to yourself, by being kind to others. Um, and I guess I take this back to the religious route where it's like love others as you love yourself, and it's important to do both. Like, yes, love yourself, but also love others. Yes, love others, but also love yourself. They're both equally important, and I feel like, yeah, I honestly would say one really can't coexist without the other. Like, you have to have a love for yourself, and you have to love others. Um, I think, yeah, that goes back to the connectedness point too, because we don't live on this planet by ourselves, as you said earlier.
yeah. You know, it's so interesting you're talking about love others as you would love yourself, right? And to do both. It's sticking with the faith side of things, right? It's that's the second greatest commandment. The first
Mm-hmm.
actually gives a way for you to be able to do the second one better. And
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that 1000%. I'm calling my own self out. Because the first one is to love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. I think that's the exact quote. I don't know. I ain't a pastor, but you know what I'm saying? But it's there. It's there.
I'm crying. You could have been. Didn't you go to Andrews? If I'm not mistaken,
And what does that mean?
you could have been a pastor.
No,
I
that's
mean, they're
not.
not.
I mean,
What?
yes, they have a seminary program, but that doesn't mean anything. They have other programs. I study
Well,
psychology,
yeah,
thank you.
that's fair. That is fair. I'm saying you could have. See, I went to Binghamton. They didn't offer a seminary. That
Yeah,
wasn't even an option.
but yet you be speaking in the word, like, you know, you
Don't do that.
like
Don't, Darian.
you do like a
Yo, you're
second dissertation.
just so subtle with it. Yo, you're so subtle with it. That's actually crazy. I
Joab's
thought you were
gonna
actually
find
going
like a
somewhere crazy
sound
with that.
that every single time I reference that, he's just gonna play it. It's gonna be like,
What?
boo.
I need to know. Don't give me ideas. I will.
What
I'll be like
what's
tomatoes,
the one?
tomatoes, tomatoes.
Tomatoes, tomatoes, or the one from like Game of Thrones. Shame.
Shit.
That doesn't go with that. But I saw that clip and I
I
was dying.
cannot.
Shame.
Oh my gosh. Nah.
Listen,
Yeah.
I just did like a quick search, right? Like practical steps to engage in this, right? Because change is not easy, like going off of what you were saying, right? And to
Hmm.
kind of wrap it up here, right? I want those that are listening, right? If this is something that you're genuinely interested in, like seriously, like research it yourself, right? If if you're in therapy, talk about it if you want to. And if this is not something that you care for, or you're like looking to, you're like, I don't buy by this, then that's totally fine. It's just really another fancy way of saying both and, just a both and mindset. So, how can we start doing this? What are some practical steps? Well, one, start by identifying opposing viewpoints. Ugh. And some that seem contradictory. I don't know. Ugh, it's terrible. It's
The ick.
no, I'm not saying that to be sarcastic. Like, I literally am like, start to like heave when I have to like look at the other side of things. There's always another side to things, you know? People do things for a reason. And sometimes remember that reminder that there's connections, right? We're all connected. It may not be that their reasons are right in your eyes and your standards, but it's a reason, right? And people behave in certain ways for a variety of reasons. And for it, and you know, we all have different upbringings. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different cultural influences and all of that. So that is something that needs to be considered. That is something to do with external. Internal, right? You can start by identifying the opposing views of what it is that you're feeling. Like, what's the opposite of what you're feeling? When you're feeling anxious, the opposite would be non anxious. Well, what does that feel like? What would you call that emotion? I don't know. I can't think of that. I'm really anxious. Well, let me tell you what I usually tell folks. Don't start implementing this type of thinking or this type of skill in your life in a crisis, because you don't have the muscle endurance. You don't have that muscle. You don't have that habit. You don't have that endurance to do so. It's not that you will never. It's just, let's be real. Your mind thinks in a particular way when you're in a crisis. It does things in a particular pattern when you're in a crisis. So now here you're learning something that's going to change that pattern. You want to do that when you're not in a crisis, whatever is a crisis, whatever you identify as a crisis. But you don't want to do it with the big things. Start with the little things, right? So, just start getting comfortable with looking at opposing viewpoints. There is this, I think it was Disney was coming out with like a series of like movies for the villains. And I had a friend that was just like, I disagree with this because even though she was like there with me watching the movies, it's like, I disagree with this because it just shows that now we're just telling that it's okay that bad people can do bad things because we could just explain it all away. I was like, but dude, you're in the field with me. Quote unquote bad people do bad things for reasons. Like there is always a reason for something, and I could understand the frustration with her because it was just like she brought it into more social, political, cultural aspects of things. I get it, and at the same time, it's just like, but there is a cause for a lot of things, a lot of reasons why people engage in that. Like one of the villain stories was Maleficent. We saw her origin story. The next one was a Cruella de Vil. We saw what
Mm-hmm.
led to these actions and these behaviors. So start by identifying different opposing viewpoints, right? Or start identifying opposing thoughts, certain narratives, opposing feelings, right? And then actively look for like the kernel of truth. Kernel. A kernel is these big, right? It's what popcorn comes out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And other things. But um, start looking for the validity or a truth in that opposing view. Believe it or not, there is some.
Yeah.
I know. Yikes! I'm like
Mm-hmm.
ducking. It's like someone wants to do. But there can be some validity to that, right? It's look for the truth or the valid aspects of that side, right? Even
So, question. I'm
yes,
sorry to
yes,
cut in.
yeah, yeah,
So I guess going back to the story with either Cruella de Vil or Maleficent, would you say like the truth would be like they had a terrible upbringing?
yeah.
That would
Like
be an example of a truth.
with Maleficent, like if we go, first of all, I love that movie. If we go, I do. I'm not
I've
gonna
never
lie.
watched it, so I can't even
Angelina
say.
Jolie did the damn thing in that. She was like,
I'm done.
she did the damn thing. Um, in the movie, spoiler alert, she gets wronged. She gets harmed really badly,
Mm,
which built all the hurts that she's experienced for just being who she is, right? And the things that she's heard and all that, you know And she was still la da da da, still trying to do her thing, and then she was betrayed. That was it. She was betrayed by someone she loved. Damn, in a bad way.
Mm.
I mean, I think she took things to a little bit of an extreme personally, but this is a movie at the same time. This is a story, so
Right.
things are going to be dramatized. So, but that could be the truth there, which was there was a betrayal.
Mm.
And even though the other person was like, yeah, but I had to do it for this, like, you still betrayed. You claimed love and you betrayed. Like, damn. Like, just take the L. Just take the L and keep it moving. So that's would be that. Or at least if you can't say I don't see that as a truth, can you see some validity to that? Like
Right.
she engaged in vengeance because she was hurt. Again, wouldn't agree with such actions, right? But you know, and there's a lot of that. Like even in biblical stories, there's oh man, there was a lot of hurt there that happened. There was this one story? Oh, Jonah. That dude was a bitter Betty. But believe it or not,
Um,
you can still see some validity to him running away. Even though he disobeyed God,
yes.
you can
Yes.
still
100%.
see the validity of why he ran away. What was the
100%.
validity? Because God is asking him to go talk to the people that was oppressing his people, hurt his people, murder his people, constantly. And he's like, and you want me to go talk to them and share this
Yeah.
fantastic news with them? Hail to the no.
Mm-hmm.
Hail to the, we can put all the expletives in there. No, there's validity to that. And actually, someone highlighted, I'm like, he still disobeyed. They're like, the human in him, you hurt my people. And these group of people hurt my people. And you want me to go over there and I have to share now what is considered good for my people with them? No,
Mm.
no, I'm running away. I could see the validity to that. I could see why he ran away. Like I could see why he would want to, why he did it. I don't agree with it. Here's another thing. You don't have to agree with it, but you can see it.
Right.
Now, if you don't know the story of Jonah, I highly recommend that you watch it through the lens of VeggieTales. Like,
I bet you it's a good show. I ain't gonna lie. Good childhood show. I'm not even gonna lie.
listen, second chances, second. That's my thing.
I was too young to remember all of it.
I can't with you. I can't with
Listen,
you. I can't with
listen.
you in our age gap. Like I can't. Okay, Joab. And here's the kernel of truth. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Now, here's the challenge with looking at some validity or some other kernels of truth or other sides. See if you can see other perspectives as well. Because the cool thing about the way I like to introduce dialectical thinking too is that it's like, I love sharing this in a group setting. I'm like, I put an object that's very unique in the center of the room. Guess what? We're all going to have different points of views in describing that object.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. So about learning how to look at different perspectives. Now, granted, again, like you can't do this when you're already in a heated space when you're overwhelmed and all that. This is just if you want to learn to expand this whole both and mindset, right? Especially for yourself. Okay, what's the other side to my anxiety here? Yeah, there's fear. Yeah, obviously that's called anxiety. Yeah, but let me see what else is there to this fear. What's another perspective on this fear? Or I think I'm fearful about one thing. Is there another fear that I have here? Actually, what's interesting, I've always heard people say, I have a fear of failure. And they talk and talk about, you ever thought of you have a fear of success? It's another
Mm.
perspective. It's another point of view. Let's try to look at different points of views. Now, again, it may sound like I have a certain like agenda here. So let me be very clear here. You could do this for others. You could start with yourself. Look for the other points of views of yourself and how you're feeling, how what
Yep.
else is bothering you, what else is affecting you. This is the dialectical thinking I'm talking about. This is expanding the both and mindset.
Yeah. I think that's what was well said. Well said. It's just check in with yourself and like have that conversation with yourself. Just have that
Exactly.
conversation with yourself.
Exactly. And then, like, of course, the final point is always to try to find that balance and then that understanding, right? But that let's start with these first two steps. Let's just start with learning just to look at things from another angle. When you
Yeah,
do the
100%.
self-reflection, right? Like, yes, are you noticing you're falling solely on the negative side of things? Are you allowing room for the positives or other possibilities? That's the encouragement here. So we gotta wrap it up because time flies when you talk so much about dialectical thinking.
So many things to talk about.
I mean, Joab, do you have any points or any final points or anything that you want to say to it?
I guess just uh, uh, not to get too personal in my life, but I could definitely see there's a lot that was said here that I definitely like I took away. Like I became the student today for sure. But like I think it's a good reminder that um we don't live in as much of a black and white world as we really think. And because we don't, I think it's really worth exploring that middle area, whether in community, with ourselves. I think it's good to kind of just question and just ponder like what if or what else. I think what else rather, like what else could be a different perspective. What I take away from me is like what else or what other ways can I like maybe like frame this thinking of like how I perceive like the way I'm doing a certain task or a certain object, or what other ways can I think of like why this person's probably going down this route or doing certain things. It's like what other perspectives can I have and hold. I think it's a good starting point just to just ask like that. So I think that'll be kind of be my homework for this week is like looking around, going through my week, like what else can come from this situation I'm looking at. Could it just be this one thing, or could it be something else, or could it be other thing? Could it be multiple things? Um, yeah, and I think I'm curious to see how much I would gain from just seeing the possibility of different perspectives off of just one situation. I'll really be curious to see like what that looks like.
Yeah. It definitely encourages a curious mindset. So I'm glad they used the word curious there, right? Because that's the encouragement, right? To get curious. And I'm also going to say this too. Don't get curious if you don't have the bandwidth to do so. Because you got to be careful. If
Mm-hmm.
you are the type of person that actually can go into a spiral there, all that, then you want to be strategic on how you do this. Maybe it's a matter of writing it down. There's that art to that, right? Be able to see things and put things on paper. And then also there's also timing. Like I said, I'm encouraging the encouragement is to try to engage in this when you're not in a crisis, like an emotional crisis, right? Then if you're also exhausted and all that, dude, let's not. Let's just call it a day. It's going back to what I said earlier. It's like I'm hungry and you're asking me to regulate my feelings. I like calm down. How about I get fed first? How about eat first and then maybe yes, and then of course, definitely the regulation. Not that it excuses, you being hungry excuses the if you engage in terrible behaviors, right? But there's the acknowledgement of where am I right now? What am I capable of? Do I have some limits? If this is going to get me to overthink too much and I'm trying to do this at 11 o'clock at night, how about we not do that? How about we not try to get that curious right then and there? How about we put a pin in it? And how about we just engage in some self care and get some sleep?
Mm.
Okay, guess what? Two things can't be true. So, okay, so normally we like to highlight like a member or a community and all that. Right now, we're just going to highlight the Being Tuned podcast community. Those of you who are listening, all right. So,
Big shout out. Big
big
shout
shout
out.
out, big shout out. Thank you for the support. But we also know that we're rooting for you. We're rooting for you. Whatever you took out of this episode, or we've taken out of other episodes, right? If we've had guests that has spoken to you, and you're like, yes, or I felt seen or heard, or this resonates, or this encouraged me to make some changes, we love it. And of course, the biggest shout out we give is to God.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yes. So take care of yourselves, and remember, be in tune. Peace.